Work continues. Remember, it's very important at the moment. Hygiene is one of the basics that needs to be adhered to. Let me go across to Zeba Varsi for more on that. Zeba, Delhi is also a problem area. We are seeing the number of cases in a small city state going up to 500. There are some hotspots as well, Zeba. But what are you looking around you, what are you picking up? Are measures like the ones we are seeing in Bengaluru or say in Kerala, where mass sanitization work is happening, is any of that likely or is happening in Delhi?
Well, certainly there are two main hotspots in Delhi, if you really point out. One, of course, is the Nizamuddin area where the Nizamuddin Tablighi Jamaat Markaz took place, and the other is the Dilshad Garden area in northeast Delhi. Both have reported many cases and have also led to other people testing positive in terms of contact tracing. And in both these places, Delhi government has launched a massive sanitation drive. In Dilshad Garden as well, hundreds and hundreds of homes were sealed, buildings were sealed. In Nizamuddin Markaz, we're just learning that nearly 2,000 houses were sealed, and sanitation drives were conducted by sanitation workers, by health workers. Fumigation drives were also conducted to ensure the least damage as soon as these hotspots, of course, emerged. We also know that over 2,000 people have been quarantined. If you talk about Dilshad Garden and Nizamuddin Markaz, both these hotspots together, over 2,000 people have been quarantined in Delhi to ensure that they do not end up infecting others. These are, of course, the measures that were in place. But if we talk about overall Delhi's picture, the shutdown has been enforced by Delhi police. There are patrolling drives that are conducted, especially in congested areas, especially in areas in Delhi considered to be those who could flout the lockdown norm. So the Delhi police is conducting these searches in the morning, in the evening, at different hours. So this is also very important because at the end of the day, emphasis has to be put on the people as well to not step out. So that is another aspect that the Delhi government is focusing on. Today at 1 p.m. we will hear from Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on what is the way forward, going ahead in the days to come, on what is the Delhi government's strategy to contain the spread of coronavirus.
Absolutely, and the Chief Minister is going to spell out this strategy so that people are aware what the next steps against the fight against COVID are going to look like. Now, train coaches, meanwhile, in Kolkata have been turned into makeshift isolation units, and CNN News18 Shokto Mukhopadhyay went ahead and got us these details of what these train coaches will look like. Take a look.
Indian Railways is converting its coaches into makeshift isolation units. And we are here inside one such coach which is being prepared at the Eastern Railways Tikiapara car shed outside the Howrah station. Let me show you how the Railways is actually preparing its coaches over here. This, the first coupe, is being prepared for doctors and nurses. So this particular coupe will be for doctors and nurses. And from the next coupe onwards, these berths, which have now been converted into beds, would be for the COVID patients who would be isolated inside these coaches. You can see the railways personnel who are disinfecting this particular coach at this present point in time.
In fact, Shokto Mukhopadhyay is live with us as well as now from Kolkata. Shokto, clearly that report that you sent gives an indication of the kind of situation that the state is looking at from here on. Considering that they are making these isolation, wards in coaches, would they then want to extend the lockdown as well?
Well, that's very much in the realm of possibility, Maha, given the fact that, we are getting reports of COVID infections from all across the state at this point in time. You see, the number of, I'll give you, an indication of how the preparedness as far as the railways is concerned. At one shed outside Howrah, that too of only the Eastern Railways. The railways are preparing 50 such coaches at one particular place. So there are in fact many other sheds where similar coaches are being prepared, not just by Eastern Railways, but also by the Southeastern Railway. Now, every coach will have the ability to accommodate 8 patients, because the first coop, like the report said, was for doctors and nurses, and then the 8 subsequent coops would be for patients. And if you look at the Tikiapara car shed, and if there are 50 coaches being prepared, 8 into 50 gives you a direct figure of 400 patients that the Tikiapara car shed is preparing up for. And where would these coaches be stationed? They would be taken to various railway stations which have watering facilities, which have electrical charging facilities. So, for example, in a district like Burdwan, the Burdwan station, which is a important junction station, one such coach or a multiple coaches are likely to be staying put for patients over there. Similarly, in Birbhum and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of preparedness that we see happening here in Bengal. I'm sure all other parts of the country are readying up with similar kinds of infrastructure backup.
Absolutely. And the advice from some of the experts is also that one needs to maintain social distancing, and considering that in a highly populated country like India, social distancing without strict norms like lockdown is really not possible. This is the way forward, as many states have suggested. Let's listen into what world-renowned oncologist Dr. Siddharth Mukherjee's advice on this count is.
The anxiety is that we are still in New York with all the infrastructure that we have. We're still struggling to contain the virus. There's a very important feature of this virus. All viruses have this feature called the R0 or the R0, and that refers to the number of people that one person who's infected can infect. In other words, if that number is very large, if every single human being who's infected can infect 5 or 3 or 2 or 1 person, the epidemic will change. In the case of COVID, without any protection, if we did nothing, that number is around 2.3 or something like that. That is a huge number, because it means that every person infects about 2 to 3 people, and it grows exponentially. So the main job that we have right now is to decrease that number to 1 and below 1.
All right, let me now go across to Stacey Pereira, who's joining us with more details from Bengaluru. Stacey, give us an overview of the situation in Karnataka over the last 24 hours, and what are we expecting after the 21-day lockdown period? Any indications coming in from the government?
Well, there are no certain indications for sure. In a press conference on Saturday, in fact, the Chief Minister said that they are working out strategies. They are also working in tandem with the GOM headed by Rajnath Singh, and going to take instructions from there. So there is definitely some plan that is being chalked out, but whether that would be an extension of this lockdown or whether it's going to be a phased out a relaxation of the lockdown, that's something we really need to wait for the Chief Minister to make an announcement on. But if I have to give you an overall picture, well, Karnataka has seen about 163 positive cases, this including 4 deaths and 20 people who have recovered and are discharged at this point. The hotspots mainly being that of Bengaluru city as well as Mysore. Now remember, Mysore, there are 2 different kinds of clusters that are formed. One obviously is that first pharma employee who then passed it on to over 10 other employees, and there are still emerging cases from that cluster. But now there's also another cluster which the health department has only given details of, saying that these persons had traveled to Delhi. Now whether they had traveled to Nizamuddin or whether they were part of the Tablighi Jamaat, that's something that there's no clarity yet, because they only information that has come out is the fact that they had traveled to Delhi. So whether this is any kind of connection is something we'll have to wait and watch. But the numbers coming from the Tablighi Jamaat are also increasing by the day. There were 380 samples of people around Karnataka that were taken in for testing, of which 166 are yet to come. So of those 380, there were only 16 that had turned out positive, whereas there are still results awaited, and which is why the government perhaps thinks that this number is going to only increase by the day. And even with more testing that is happening, there are 10 government-approved labs now across the state. So with more testing, they perhaps think that there is going to be more positive cases here in Karnataka as well. For now, 163 is the number here in Karnataka.
All right, that was Stacey getting us an overview of the situation in Karnataka. At the moment, most states are wanting this lockdown period to be extended for a bit. But one aspect of the containment zones that have been created and how they have been able to manage some of the cases or the spread in their locality, standing out amongst them is Bhilwara. It's now being referred to as the Bhilwara model. And they have successfully managed to arrest the spread of COVID-19 cases there. My colleague Maria Shakil spoke with the Bhilwara's district magistrate. Let's listen in.
Did you face the usual implementation challenges? That people weren't cooperating? Did you take action against the curfew breakers? What did you do? I mean, to ensure that this kind of spirit is displayed in a town like Bhilwara is again something that is almost like a nightmare for those who implement this curfew.
Initially, people were not so serious about the things. But as we told the police to take a harsh action on those who were breaking the curfew laws. So when the police was harsh, and secondly, when the survey went from home to home, people came to know there's something big going to happen, and they used to see in the televisions and newspapers on different channels and social media that Bhilwara is the epicenter, and every house was being combed. So they came to know that there's something wrong, and then they started realizing the situation is very serious, and they tried to follow, and they followed. Hats off to them. They followed strictly, religiously, all the orders of the administration after that.